What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barca Boy 103. Today we're going to be reacting to the Barcelona news over the past few days. We do have a lot of topics to discuss. Firstly, the incorporation of Vitor Roque in January is on the table. Deco has told Xavi that we will sign Vitor Roque in January, but again, the operation is difficult because with the new La Liga wage cap, Barcelona need either a salary reduction from a player sale, or an economic lever to bring in Vitor Roque. We'll have to wait and see how this materializes. We do have key updates on his potential arrival and what are the probability of him joining in January, along with possibly a new pivot. We know that Barcelona are keen to sign a new pivot to provide coverage and competition with Romeo. We do have many names on the table, from Vermeeren, Moscardo, Kimmich. We're going to talk about the situation for Vitor Diaz and João Paulinho as well, but options are there just down to Barcelona to making their official targets known. And we are already targeting free agents for the summer of 2024, and the main candidate at the moment is the young Spanish winger Nico Williams. We'll talk about that. Barcelona have inquired to his agents about his availability in the summer as a free agent, and Xavi is very keen to have Nico in his squad. He is a big fan of the winger. We're also going to talk about briefly Jadon Sancho, whether or not he could be an option for Barcelona in January. We do have a lot of contract renewal updates, of course, on Yamal, Alejandro, Balde, Sergi, Roberto, Marcos Alonso as well, Xavi, but the big one is on Frenkie de Jong, whether or not he'll help the club reduce his salary by January to incorporate Vitor Roque in January. I'll talk about that. Also have some other updates in regards to the salary cap, of course, new salary cap from La Liga, and many other things in regards to injury updates. Most importantly, Barcelona are going to be implementing a new prevention plan for injuries. That way they can stop these niggling muscle injuries that, Pedri keeps picking up, and Araujo as well. And finally, we do have some updates on the FIFA The Best Awards ceremony, where we do have Barcelona players being nominated for the key awards and could even end up winning one. But before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. Let's try to get the 200 likes in this video. Be very much appreciated. And also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Let's start off with the transfer news over the past few days. That, as we all know, alongside the Vitor Roque hopeful arrival, which we'll talk about later on in the video, one of the main priorities for Barcelona in the January transfer window is to reinforce the pivot position, and we have been linked with 7 pivots recently, with 5 of them being targets and 2 of them being ruled out, and we're going to discuss each and every single one of them. And the general consensus is that Barcelona is aiming to bet on a youngster in the pivot position. Now, one of the main targets is Gabriel Moscardo, and this is coming in from Goal Brazil, very reliable sources in Brazil, saying that Barcelona have made an official inquiry for Gabriel Moscardo, but they want to evaluate him for a bit more before sending an official offer to Corinthians, who want at least 30 million euros. Chelsea are also interested. So again, the price is essentially set, but Barcelona's ambition isn't set quite yet. So wait and see how things develop. But again, definitely Moscardo is top 3 targets right now in the pivot position for Barcelona. But again, the club still want to scout him a bit longer before making their formal offer. We are hearing that Deco is a big fan of the player, but there is another youngster who Barcelona is tracking, and that is Artur Vermeeren. Now, we did talk about him, remember, back in May. He's on the initial list for pivots in the summer. Of course, Joshua Kimmich, Zubimendi, Conte, Romeo, who we ended up signing, and Vermeeren was already on that list. Now, Oriol from TV3, who we all know is a very reliable source, only speaks once or twice every few months. He's spoken, and he says that Barcelona are among the clubs following Artur Vermeeren at Royal Antwerp, who, of course, we will be playing this Tuesday, so keep your eyes on him on the pitch, where Barcelona are very interested, and we will be coming up against him on Tuesday at the Olympic Luis Campos Stadium. Now, Gabriel Sanz and Mundo Deportivo has come out saying that Barcelona admit that they like Artur Vermeeren for his high technical and tactical level at 18, but they will continue to monitor and evaluate him as well. Barcelona have given reports, but don't want to rush to conclusions. We will see, is the word that the club is currently saying. So the word on Vermeeren and also Moscardo are very similar. The club is interested, but they still want to watch and scout them a bit longer before intensifying that interest they do currently have in the two youngsters. So we'll wait and see. I think, again, you could say Vermeeren has a bit more experience than Moscardo, because again, Moscardo is playing in Brazil, Vermeeren's in Europe, playing in the Champions League. He's going to play against Porto, he's going to play against Shakhtar, and also Barcelona. So something to look out for there for sure. Now, Vermeeren, of course, was on that initial list back in the summer for the pivot position, and another player that was very, very high on that list was Joshua Kimmich. Now, over the past match day, Bayern Munich did play Bayern Leverkusen on the Friday kickoff, and Kimmich was subbed off, and when he was subbed off, he was very, very, very disappointed and angry. After the match, he was asked why he was angry, why were you subbed off, and he simply said, ask the coach. After that, Sport came out saying that Joshua Kimmich is not happy at Bayern Munich. If he does not renew his deal, Barcelona will make a move for him in 2024. Xavi rates him highly. Again, his contract, I believe, does expire in 2025. So, I'm not bringing this up to say, oh, we're being linked with Kimmich. This is me saying, hey, things are not going too well in Munich right now with Kimmich. Keep your eyes on him in the summer. If he's available for 60, 50 million euros, I think the club will be all over it. I'd rather invest 50 million euros in a Kimmich or in a Zubimendi than a Vermeeren or a Moscardo. That is a very, very high risk for a very, very high transfer fee. Here, you're at least getting some sort of guarantee. So keep your eyes on Kimmich, see how his future develops, see if he renews his contract with Bayern Munich, because if not, if he is available with 1 year left on his deal this summer, Barcelona could be in for him. Now, there are two other players who Barcelona are interested, who are experienced and you could say veterans, and are available on the cheaper side because they will be free. Sport have come out saying that Barcelona have two free agents in mind for January. They are Jean-Philippe Gumbayman, who was of course released by Everton in the final few days of the transfer window, and Joshua Julavoji, who was of course a free agent past summer after his contract expired with Wolfsburg, and he's yet to decide his future. Barcelona are also looking at young Portuguese player João Neves, another João could be ended up coming to Barcelona, and also Dario Esugo for the future. So, in terms of the two available affiliate agents, of course, Gumbayman, he was just released from Everton, and Julavoji is, of course, just released from Wolfsburg. They do have some sort of experience at the semi-level in Europe. I would see no point in this. I would much rather either just bet on what we currently have in El Gaido or Marc Casado, or see if we can bring someone in January like Moscardo or Vermeeren, then sign some free agent simply for no reason. If we're deep in the Champions League and, some injury happens, or we're trying to go for all 4 trophies and we just need some sort of body, then maybe on a 6-month deal, something like that. But it's not something that I would be interested in. I don't think the club are too keen on it. Again, Sport, this is coming in from a reliable source, but we'll wait and see if there's any further confirmation. But again, the club are keeping their options very, very open in terms of the pivot position, youngsters, best in the world experience players right now, and also you could say deadweight free agents on the market. But there are 2 pivots that Barcelona have been linked with a lot that will not be joining Barcelona in the imminent future, and those names are Fabrizio Diaz and João Palhinha. The reports are coming in saying the 2 pivot candidates move away from Barcelona. They are João Palhinha and Fabrizio Diaz. The former has just renewed his contract with Fulham and will most likely move to Bayern Munich either January or the summer, while the latter is closing in on a move to Qatar. Now, if you haven't known already, Fabrizio Diaz has already joined that Qatarian side. Fabrizio Romano is given the here we go. The announcement has been reached. He has joined for a €6 million package. Keep in mind, Barcelona were quoted a $9 million transfer fee, and they sold him, Liverpool Montevideo, for a $6 million package. Says enough really. Apparently, Fabrizio Diaz had some issues with Liverpool Montevideo. He hasn't played a second since he won the Under-17 World Cup. He wanted out no matter what, and Qatar was the only transfer window at this point that were interested, and also where the transfer window was opened. Now, Fabrizio Romano has come out saying that Barcelona had multiple meetings with Fabrizio Diaz, and Mateo Alemán was the one pushing for him, but then he left the club. So very, very interesting. Fabrizio Diaz was a Mateo Alemán bet for Barcelona. We'll wait and see if Mateo Alemán found a gem or not, but for now, Fabrizio Diaz is in Qatar. We'll wait and see how things materialize with his career. He may end up joining another team in Europe in the future. He might just stay in Qatar and be washed. You just never know. But again, those are the primary targets you could say right now for the pivot position. We do have the likes of Gabriel Moscardo, Vermeeren. You could say top of the list. Medium of the list, you have Joshua Kimmich, maybe a Zubimendi as well. Then Balde, you have the Gumbayman and also Julavoji as those free agents just to come in and provide an extra body. We'll wait and see how the club decide what they do in the pivot position, but no doubt it is a top priority for the club to reinforce. Now, along with the January transfer window, the club are also keeping an eye on the upcoming summer of 2024 transfer window. As we all know, since Joan Laporta's new board has come in, we've signed 2 free agents before the transfer window in the next summer begun. Of course, last summer it was Inigo Martinez and Ilkay Gundogan. The summer before that it was Andreas Christensen and Franck Kessié, and the club are already making movements on one of their first free agent signings, and that is the talented Spanish winger Nico Williams. Now, Fernando Martinez from Sport, we all know is a very reliable source, has come out saying that Barcelona have contacted the agents of Nico Williams. He is out of contract next year and he is on Barcelona's agenda. Xavi and the board are following him closely. Now, Nico Williams is a baller. I think he is definitely top 5 best wingers in La Liga. He is an absolutely brilliant player. 2 things though. 1, if he comes, someone is leaving, whether it's Rafinha, Ferran Torres, or maybe Joao Felix's loan just ends and we don't end up buying him, so that could be an option. 2, Nico is, of course, Spanish, but he's from the Basque country. Of course, the Basque area in Spain is the likes of Real Sociedad, Athletic Club. Players from that region tend to never leave. Of course, if you don't know this, Athletic Club have kind of this rule where they only have Spanish players in their team. Of course, Iñaki Williams has now switched his nationality to Ghana, but initially he was Spanish. If you look in the past years, Athletic Club's entire squad is just pure Spanish. That's kind of their thing. They want naturally grown players in their squad. Now, they tend to not leave. They tend to stake out their future there a lot. I think the only big star from the Basque country who's left was Andre Herrera when he made his move to Manchester United. We've seen, of course, Inigo Martinez. He came from Athletic Club. He then just moved Basque clubs to Real Sociedad. Then he made that jump now to Barcelona. Iñaki Williams, he could have left on multiple occasions to Barcelona. I remember him back in the day heavily linked with moves to the Premier League, like Manchester United and Arsenal and Chelsea. So I think it will be a very difficult operation. Of course, Nico Williams currently plays with his brother Iñaki as well, so that could be a big influence. Now, the president of Athletic Club has spoken on these rumors, saying that both Nico Williams and his family are very happy in Bilbao. Both sides are working so that he can stay here for many more years. I think he's at a point now where he's a bit too young from his point of view, his family point of view as well, to make that jump. I think it will be a very, very difficult operation to do. But if we end up doing it, I think it would be a fantastic deal. But I don't see it happening. I don't see it likely whatsoever. Again, you have to keep in mind, these Basque players rarely, and I mean rarely, ever leave their club. They might go out on loan here and there, but permanently, it's very, very difficult to convince those Basque players, especially when they're grown from the Basque country, to make the move elsewhere. So we'll wait and see what we think of Williams. Again, the club is interested. We know that Xavi's a big fan of him, especially his winger profile, speed, tenacity, excellent dribbling ability as well. He's already a full Spanish international. He's in the squad list for Spain in every single international race. So keep your eyes on Nico Williams, again, as a free agent. Won't cost Barcelona anything as well. So definitely one to keep an eye out for, but I think it will be a very, very complicated operation. Now, another winger that has also been linked with Barcelona a lot over the past 24 hours, but from absolutely dreadful sources, is Jadon Sancho. Now, usually I would have mentioned this, but I just want to talk about it very, very briefly. Now, Sport have come out saying that Barcelona could sign Jadon Sancho in January on a loan deal. The club is attentive to the situation with Manchester United. If you don't know, Jadon Sancho had a fallout with the Man United manager Erik ten Hag, and he's probably going to leave in the next transfer window. Now, as we all know, Xavi does like to sign some players with attitude problems because they're great players available for cheap, and then Xavi just shapes them up and they come here and they play fine. You know, the likes of João Cancelo, João Felix, Aubameyang. I think Jadon Sancho could be an option in January if Barcelona need it. Let's say, for example, Felix gets injured, God forbid, Rafinha all of a sudden pushes for a move out, God forbid. Yamal tears his ACL, God forbid. Ferran Torres gets an offer from Aston Villa, he wants to leave, God forbid. I think Jadon Sancho then definitely becomes an option, but I think for now, definitely not on the table for Barcelona. I think only as an emergency case in January would you maybe be interested in Jadon Sancho. Keep in mind his salary at Manchester United is 300,000 euros per week, so if he does join on loan, we're gonna have to cover some of that. I'd say Man United would probably let him go if we cover at least 100,000 at the bare minimum. But, you know, with Man United, they're an absolutely woefully run club, so you never know. But keep your eyes on Jadon Sancho. If we do end up being a winger in January and he's the only option left, I think the club will definitely pursue it. We know in his day Jadon Sancho is a very quality player, but for now, he's not doing too well with United. So keep your eyes on it. We'll wait and see, but I'd put this at probably a 1, maybe 2% probability rate. But Barcelona's #1 priority for the upcoming January transfer window is the incorporation of Vitor Roque, a player that we've already signed the past summer. It's just now about registering him and making the first payment to his current club. Now, as we all know, the new La Liga salary cap has come out. I'll talk about that later on in the video, but it is set at 270 million euros as our wage cap, and of course our wage bill right now is 404 million, which we talked about of course in the last video, so we're have a bit of a difference there, around 135, 140 million euros. So with Vitor Roque, it looks like it's going to be very difficult to bring him in. We've heard reports coming in from Luis Rojo from Marca saying that Vitor Roque will not join January to Barcelona. The club does not have any salary space for him. And Nico Williams from Cope came out saying that at the moment, Barcelona see the arrival of Vitor Roque in January as complicated unless there is an excess income, which is not a lever or an unexpected sale. So in essentially saying that something needs to happen. We activate some sort of economic lever, someone reduces their salary, we sell someone unexpectedly, then Vitor Roque can come in. But just how the squad is right now, very, very unlikely. Now, Mundo Deportivo came out saying that Barcelona will have to either sell a player or find a new source of income before they're able to register 35 million euro striker Vitor Roque when he joins in the January transfer window. Now, we heard about all these rumors, you know, pessimism, oh, we're probably not going to bring in Vitor Roque, you're going to have to wait till the summer, that sucks, blah, blah, blah. Then out of nowhere, of course, Xavi in the pre-match press conference for the Betis match was asked about Vitor Roque, and Xavi said, Deco told me that he will arrive in January, but for now he is not there. We'll wait and see where we are in January. There is no point talking about him right now. It is way, way too early. That's very, very interesting that Deco has already told Xavi that Vitor Roque will come in January, and we did get some more positive reports as well, saying that Barcelona have informed the representatives of Vitor Roque that they will incorporate him in the January transfer window. Deco, before the match against Betis, was speaking to the media, saying that we want Vitor Roque to come in as soon as possible, but this depends on several things. So now, all of a sudden, I'm optimistic. I feel like the club do have some sort of plan to bring in Vitor Roque in January. I don't know what they're going to do. I would suspect right now my bet would be on the reduction salary of Frenkie de Jong. Again, we'll talk about that later on. I cannot see us selling anyone in January. It could be some sort of new income that comes in, an economic lever. But I'm very, very intrigued to see what happens. But again, the club 100% are definitely planning the arrival of Vitor Roque, and Xavi, the manager, has been informed that he will join in January. Again, too early to call right now, but let's wait and see how things materialize. Let's now discuss the players that have been rumored to leave Barcelona over the past few days. The two only candidates are Sergi Roberto and also Marcos Alonso, where Sport have come out saying the futures of Sergi Roberto and Marcos Alonso at Barcelona are uncertain. Both of their contracts, of course, expire this upcoming June, and Barcelona have not begun talks with either of them over a renewal. And of course, this is 100% the correct decision. Alonso, I'm very, very confident will end up leaving for free, but keep your eyes on Roberto. Of course, he is the club captain. He is earning absolute peanuts at the moment. He has a bloody Barca B salary, so it'll cost next to nothing to keep him. I think it's time for Roberto to leave as well. And look, he's had his extra year from Jordi and Busi and Jerry, so he's been the captain. He's not useful whatsoever. Every time he plays, he's been, shit. That performance against Villarreal was the top 3 worst performances I've seen from any Barcelona player, let alone Sergi Roberto. Alonso, again, I would say he's a very, very, very, very, very low high up on Roberto, but because he has a bit more experience and he's a bit younger, and it looks like Xavi just favored him more. We saw Alonso come on, of course, yesterday in the Betis match. Keep your eyes on it. We'll wait and see, of course, when Barcelona tend to negotiate players' renewals that they don't want to keep. They wait for it very late. Of course, last year we renewed Roberto's contract, I believe, in like March or February, somewhere around there. So I think it's a bit too early. But I hope Barcelona renews neither of their contracts. Again, there's no current talks, but again, with their age and the typical conditions of their deals, this usually happens later on, so we'll wait and see. But for now, there are no intentions and no talks for the renewals of Roberto and Alonso, and most likely at the moment they will leave this summer as free agents. Let's now discuss some contract renewal updates around the first team at Barcelona. Firstly, on the contract renewals / salary reduction of Frenkie de Jong. Now, Luis Rojo from Marca came out saying that Frenkie de Jong is not in a rush to renew given the fact that his deal runs out in 2026, which is far away. It will be a slow process, unlike Ter Stegen's renewal, which helped with FFP. Now, keep in mind, Luis Rojo was the first to break the Ter Stegen renewal and salary reduction news. I think for De Jong, I don't think right now to renew his contract is too early. Of course, he's going to come into 2 years left on his deal come December. I think this is probably the right time to start initial talks. I still think that Barcelona do want to renew his contract before December. That way they can reduce his salary for FFP, spread out his salary like Ter Stegen. That way they can register Vitor Roque in January. Now, Fernando Polo from Deportivo came out saying that actually talks have begun with Frenkie de Jong to restructure his current contract, just like Ter Stegen did, but they don't want to put too much pressure on the player. Look, I think the situation has changed a lot from last summer to this summer with Frenkie de Jong. Last summer, of course, according to reports, the club tried to sell him, and Laporta came out saying they didn't, blah, blah, blah, blah. He's now probably the most integral part of Barcelona's squad, and he's the fourth captain. So the situation has changed to a point that Barcelona cannot risk him being upset on making him unhappy. But then again, I think Frenkie de Jong is very, very happy in Barcelona. He plays with a smile on his face. He's got the armband every other day. He's absolutely balling out. I think maybe wait until his until the birth of his child. I think his girlfriend is about 6 months through her pregnancy. Maybe wait till his child is born. That way he's kind of more at ease, because right now he's focusing on football. He's about to have his first kid. You know, it's a big milestone in his life. So maybe right now you don't want to put too much pressure on him. I'm not saying to exploit him after he has his kid. Oh, you have a kid? Great, here, sign this renewal. That's not what I mean. But there's always a time and place for things, especially with Frenkie de Jong, when there's no too much of a rush. But I think it's the right time now to start talks and everything like that. So we'll wait and see what happens. But again, Frenkie de Jong's renewal is on the table. The club do want to renew his contract. We're still quite unsure from the player side if he wants to stay and help the club with restructuring his contract or not. We'll have to wait and see how things materialize over the next few weeks. The next contract renewal update is on the contract renewal of Alejandro Balde and Lamine Yamal. The day I can stop saying this will be the greatest day of my life. I mean, the amount of times I have had to update you guys on this renewal is astounding. Again, for the billionth time, they have already both renewed their contracts officially. It's just not been made official by the club. Both Fabrizio Romano and Fernando Polo from Mundo Deportivo over the past 24 hours have come out saying that Alejandro Balde until 2028 and Lamine Yamal until 2026 have already signed their contract renewals with Barcelona before they travel to the US tour, of course, for preseason. So again, the renewal is already done. They've already signed. Again, Balde's renewal has already been registered with La Liga. It's just not official by the club yet. I don't know what they're waiting for, but you know, it is what it is. Now, the only reason why I'm talking about this is because I want to talk about Lamine Yamal for a bit, because there was some heavy interest from Man City the past summer. Radio Marca come out saying that Man City did try to sign Lamine Yamal this summer. Relationship between Man City and Barcelona deteriorated because the English club tried everything to sign the youngster, but the player refused the offer. So Lamine Yamal rejected Man City the past summer. Again, they were looking for a winger. That's why they signed Jeremy Doku, who of course scored against West Ham yesterday. Great goal from him. Nice little celebration as well with the gritty. Anyways, Lamine Yamal, very, very happy he stayed. Again, there is a plan. There is a conditionally plan where when he turns 18, he will renew his contract until 2030. So you could say we have him on lock for the next 6 to 5 years. But again, that's not really official yet. We'll wait and see. These two renewals, I cannot believe that they're not at least officially announced. Again, I know that the club want to do a presentation with Balde like they did with Araujo and Gavi and Pedri and Ansu, which I think is very well earned for Balde. But not even an announcement yet is wild, in my opinion. Again, these renewals have already been signed, sealed, and delivered 2 months ago. We'll wait and see what the club do decide to do, but again, 100%, a billion %, the renewal of Balde and Lamine Yamal is totally completed. And the final contract renewal update is on the contract renewal of the first team manager, Xavi Hernandez. Very similar to Lamine Yamal and Balde. I am shocked that this is not official yet. Again, Xavi did speak on his renewal in the pre-match press conference for the Betis match. He said that I spoke about it with Deco, with the president, before with Mateo Alemán as well. The coach also has to perform. It's about achieving success, titles, not long contracts. I will never be a problem for the club if I see it or if they see it. We have a great team. My renewal will be announced shortly, without a doubt. So he's saying that, look, I think it's better to go on a short-term basis because, of course, it's all about succeeding. I'll never be a problem for the club, so I won't, dip out of nowhere and things like that, which I think is very reassuring for us Barcelona fans. But he's saying that his renewal will be announced shortly. This is, of course, on Friday. It's not Sunday, and we've gotten absolutely nothing. Now, Fernando Polo from Mundo Deportivo came out saying that Xavi's renewal agreement is now very close at the last time. And at the last minute, they are looking for a deal until 2026 that can be carried out. It was already taken for granted that he signed until 2025 for FFP reasons. Look, I have absolutely no idea. 1 minute is 2025, then 2026, then 2028, then 2030, then 2069. I don't know. I think at this point we can all agree his renewal is pretty much done. We're just now waiting for the logistics in the sense of how long the contract will be. Will it be a 1-year renewal, 2-year, 2+1, or 1+1? I don't know, but I'm hoping by the end of next week, so after maybe the Celta Vigo match, before the Celta Vigo match, that Xavi's renewal is official, along with Balde and Yamal as well. Let's now discuss some of the news surrounding Barcelona over the past few days. First, we do have some updates in regards to the buy option in Abde Ezzalzouli's contract for Betis. Of course, he played against Barcelona yesterday. He was absolutely shite, absolutely beautiful. Now, Fabrizio Romano has come out saying the deal for Abde to Betis was, of course, for 7.5 million euros, and there is a 50% of any future sale to Barcelona if Betis do end up selling him. But Barcelona do have a buyback option, and for 2 summers, in 2024 it will be for 20 million euros, and then for 2025 it will be 25 million euros. We literally heard it was going to be 20 million euros for both the summer 2024 and 2025, but now hearing that the 2025 summer will actually increase by 5 million euros. Look, I still think it's a very good operation by Barcelona. You sold him for 7.5, you buy back for 20, that's only 13 million net spend. If you buy him back for 25 million, that's only 18 million net spend, and of course that's essentially paying for a 3-year, 2-year loan, which is not, too bad in the end. Now, Abde did speak. Of course, he was presented as a Betis player a few days ago, and he came out saying that Barcelona told me they wanted to keep me and they wanted me to stay. But the first 3 rounds, I saw that I was not playing. It was clear that I wanted to play, and I decided to leave. I will say this: if you do not see Abde starting for Betis in the next 2 games, we've been absolutely shafted. Because of course he didn't start against Barcelona. That made a bit sense. He just incorporated. He just joined. But watch out for Betis next few games. If Abde does not start, then we have absolutely been finessed. And Abde also has been finessed as well. But nonetheless, those are the new updates on Abde, that his buyback option actually increases in the summer 2025 from 20 million to 25 million euros. Now, on the topic of transfers, Barcelona, of course, now know their wage cap for the next transfer window in January, and it has been set, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, to 270 million euros. The wage cap for all first division Spaniard clubs until February at the latest has been set by La Liga. Real Madrid have the highest wage bill set cap at 727 million euros, followed by Atletico Madrid on 296 million euros, and Barcelona set on 270 million euros, and this will be reviewed again in February after the winter window. Now, this is of course very, very poor from the Barcelona side. Of course, our last wage cap was at 650, and now it's down to 270. Our current wage bill is set at 404, so we are already exceeding the wage cap in La Liga by around 135 million euros. But Gigantes are reporting that there is tranquility at Barcelona regarding the salary limit. Barcelona is already made aware of the excess and is working to meet the budget. The board of directors is working with the goal of reaching the 1-1 rule in the next summer transfer window. Now, of course, it does mean in January we are not going to be in the 1-1 rule, and of course we do want to bring in Vitor Roque, so something's going to have to happen. Salary reduction, player exit, economic lever. Vitor Roque cannot just join in, and of course salary is very, very poor. I'm shocked by this number, but again, this comes down to what happened during the Bartomeu reign, and this is why Madrid's salary cap is so high, because for like 2 summers when they moved from the Bernabeu to their B team stadium, I think it's called I forget what it's called. The Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium. They didn't buy anyone. They went 2 summer transfer windows, I believe, without a single reinforcement. I think they brought in Alaba as a free agent. That's it. And Rudiger, of course. But anyways, it is what it is. Now, we do have some quotes coming in from the man himself. I really don't want to say his name. I'm kind of ashamed that I have his face up there. But we're going to go into his quotes and see what he had to say. He was asked on when Barcelona will return to a normal situation. He said it depends on them. Maybe they have to sell a great player. It would be a huge step for them. On Barcelona's efforts recently, he said that Barcelona made a very high effort. They have reached around 400 million euros in their wage bill. This is not a loss-making business, but sometimes things happen that are not foreseen. Barcelona has lowered its squad costs, but it must take into account that Barcelona has recovered the losses of the previous years, just like what happened to other clubs as well. Of course, that makes sense. But he's then asked about Joao Felix's contract, and this is the issue, of course, with Javier Tebas' rules. Of course, Barcelona are paying Joao Felix 400,000 euros for his entire loan. From August 31st, or September 1st when he joined, until June the 30th, we're only going to be paying Felix's salary of 400,000 euros. Of course, the salary at Atletico Madrid is 7 million euros, and that's transferred over to Barcelona on paper, even though we're not paying him 7 million euros, we're paying him 400,000. Anyways, Xavi Hernandez was asked about this, and that one thing is that the club pays the players, and another is what is calculated for the limit. Depending on the case, there's internal La Liga evaluation that adapt these contracts in the market. It is not true that 400,000 euros are paid. Much more, we have valued the contract much more. Barcelona pay him a salary lower than our assessment. What we have said that should be counted in the salary limit is much more than what they say. So he's basically saying that yes, we have counted Joao Felix's salary in the wage cap as 7 million euros. Even though we're paying him only 400,000. He said, I don't care what you pay him. His value is set. This is his market value. And that's what we've labeled it as. How is he running this league? I have no idea. The day he leaves, the league will be hopefully back to its best. I think he also mentioned in his little press conference that financially La Liga is the worst league in Europe's top league, which of course is very, very obvious. The day he leaves will be a better day, but for now, we're unfortunately stuck with him. Now, speaking about the Barcelona squad, of course, recently we have suffered 2 key injuries to Pedri and Araujo, and the club are very unhappy that these injuries happened very early on in the season and are worried about a relapse. Tony Juan Martínez from Sport came out saying that numerous muscular injuries among the players have increased the criticism towards Barcelona's medical staff and recovery services. The club has increased their supervision of the work and training that the players do outside the club and on their own time. Sometimes players do not inform the club in detail about their extra training sessions they do outside the club by themselves in order to avoid the club denying them the chance to do so. Several players avoid posting on social media when they train outside the club in order to hide it as well. So the reason why there's a lot of muscle injuries that the players train more often than they should, and they don't tell the club this as well because they want to train extra to get better, but there is kind of that point that you should not train over. You know, there's a point where you can train and improve, then there's another point where you're going to train and try and improve, but it will also increase your chance of getting injured. Now, Gabriel from Deportivo came out saying that Barcelona are clear there is a zero risk policy with injured players, whether they are from the first team or from Barca Athletic. Araujo will play when he's at the best, similar to Pedri and also Angel Alecron. So Barcelona now have a no risk policy in terms of their injuries, and they're also trying to implement new services to help the players understand that communication is very, very important, and that you can tell us when you're training more, and we'll tell you whether or not that's the right thing to do or not. Look, the reality is that yes, Barcelona do suffer from a lot of injuries. When Xavi first came in for like a solid 6 months, we had no injuries, which was unbelievable. Then all of a sudden, everyone started dropping like flies. Of course, Dembele got injured last season, a key injury. Pedri was injured a lot. So was Araujo. We lost Koundé for a bit. Christensen was in and out of the squad, left, right, and center. So hopefully this season, if we can just end up staying fit, we can push a lot. Of course, injuries essentially was what cost us a lot in our trophies last season in terms of the Champions League and also the Copa del Rey. So it's important to have those players available to us. So Barcelona trying to implement a injury prevention plan, and hopefully that can come to fruition. Again, the head of medical service at Barcelona is Dr. Ricardo Prunia, who of course was Xavi's bet, and he has to come in now and make sure these players do not pick up niggling injuries just for playing football. Of course, they get like a hard tackle, they tear their ACL, stuff like that. That's of course the reality of football. That is normal, but muscle injuries here and there, niggling, hamstrings out for a month, stuff like that, that can be prevented. Now, the final topic that I want to discuss before I end off this video is about the FIFA Best Awards, where the nominations have been revealed, and we do have some Barcelona players up for some of the big awards. Firstly, the FIFA Men's Best Player of the Year award. We do have İlkay Gündoğan being a nomination for, of course, for his time with Man City, and that's also a very important thing for Barcelona. Put our names out there. Of course, most likely that award will be won by either Messi or Erling Haaland. De Bruyne could be an option as well, but we do have Osimhen as an option. Rodri, Brozovic somehow got in there. Also have Kvaratskhelia, Julian Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, Declan Rice is somehow in there, and of course Kylian Mbappe. So Gündoğan unlikely to win this award, but him being a nomination is of course very key, and he very much well could end up getting into the top 5, which of course is very, very important as well. But next up, the other best award for the men's is of course the best goalkeeper, where we do have Marc-Andre ter Stegen as a nomination. Now, ter Stegen does have a very good chance of winning this because Alisson, who you could say him and ter Stegen were the best goalkeepers last season, he wasn't nominated at all. It was ter Stegen nominated, Ederson, Bonu, and Onana, I believe, and Courtois, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the top 5. Based on last season, I think ter Stegen is the best out of those 5, honestly. I think Ederson is going to be his main competition, of course, because he won the treble, but I think as just pure goalkeeping performances, I think ter Stegen trumps every single one of them. Now, I think there's a good chance that Ter Stegen can win this. I think most likely he'll end up losing to Ederson because Ederson won the treble. But make sure you go to the links and vote for Ter Stegen. I think Barcelona have the links up on their Twitter, on their Instagram, on their official website as well. So make sure you vote for Ter Stegen because he does have a good chance of winning it for sure. And finally, the manager of the year, the FIFA Best Men's Coach, Xavi has been nominated. Him, Pep Guardiola, Inzaghi, Spalletti, I believe, were nominated. Lionel Scaloni was not, of course, because this took place after the World Cup. These dates are from December 19th, which of course the day after the World Cup final, until I believe a few months ago. So Xavi being nominated, big thing for him. Of course, won the double, and I think it's a rightful nomination. And I think honestly he could come second. Of course, Pep, better coach, definitely will win it. He won the treble. That makes perfect sense. But Xavi being nominated, I think, is a good recognition on his work with Barcelona. Again, he talked about this as a pre-match press conference for the Betis match. I think it's a very good, big accomplishment for him. But hopefully in the next award ceremony, he can be the clear favorite to win it. So that was my reaction to the Barcelona news over the past few days. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and of course leave me your thoughts down below in the comments on everything we discussed. But the main thing I want to see, of course, is your thoughts on Vitor Roque. Do you believe he'll arrive in January or not? Secondly, on those pivot options, who would you want to bring in? Who would you prioritize? Third, your thoughts on the option of Nico Williams. Do you think we can pursue that? I think there's a likely chance that we do end up signing him. And finally, your thoughts on the renewal of Frenkie de Jong that he'll do before January to help with the registration of Vitor Roque. Do you think it'll help Barcelona at all by reducing his salary or not? And of course, make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Take care and Forza Barca.